A while back I made a video exposing a game-breaking strafing skill bug and how to replicate it. Many people told me not to publish this video and to make it private, as AGS was aware of the bug, but they said privately that the bug is very hard to fix and it would take weeks if not months to fully fix it. Coincidence or not, a week after I uploaded the video, the strafing bug was completely fixed. Was publicly exposing the bug and how to replicate it the push AGS needed to fix it? I'm not 100% sure. That's why I'm bringing you several new game-breaking bugs and exploits people have been using and abusing in the past months, and all in hopes that it gives AGS a nudge they need to fix them really fast. Note: I do not encourage the usage of these bugs and exploits. They give you significant advantage in PvE and PvP, which could be considered cheating by Amazon terms of service. So use them at your own risk. I do not use any of these bugs to gain advantage, and neither should you. The goal is to publicly expose them, show people how to replicate them, which in turn will force AGS to fix them just like they did before, otherwise there is people abusing them really hard. The current most game-breaking bug that literally gives you advantage over other players is related to the Aridus Staff weapon passive. It says that if the user stands still for 3 seconds, it gains 30 damage and lasts for 2 seconds after moving. The bug is that you can make this buff permanent, meaning that it stays active even when you are moving. To replicate it, you need of course Aridus Staff equipped and any shape-shifting morph. Bind the morph to a key and simply spam that keybind while moving around until the passive buff appears. As you can see on the clip, the player is running around while the buff is active, giving him permanent 30 damage increase. But it gets worse. After you get the buff, you can also unequip the staff and equip any other weapon, meaning that you can retain the buff with any weapon combination that doesn't include the staff. But it actually does get even worse. As you can see, I have a bow and staff equipped, as well as 2 passive skills, Aestheticism and Rapid Fire Stance. Both of these passives give buffs when standing still, and are retained for 2 seconds after moving. You can probably already see where I'm going with this. Yes, you can permanently have both of these passives active as well as Aridus passive at the same time while moving around. To replicate it, repeat the same morph spamming technique, but this time you don't need to move around, just stand still until both buffs appear. For these 2 passives you will need to have staff and bow equipped at all times. Since bow and staff is the most used DPS combo and deals the highest PvE and PvP damage in the game, permanently activating these 3 passive buffs give you such a significant advantage that it borderlines on cheating. You get 30 damage increase, 210 mana regen, 100 heavy attack chance, 20% attack speed and 100 hit chance permanently. And even when you do accidentally lose the buffs, it's easy and fast to get them back. This is very game breaking as many people are abusing it in PvP, but it is mostly being abused in Dimensional Trials, where the majority of groups that have cleared any tier 30 have had all 6 players using these bugs to gain damage. In Korea, NCSoft is very strict when players use bugs and exploits in content that has leaderboards. But we are on the West, and AGS likely isn't going to punish any of the abusers in Dimensional Trials. As mentioned at the start of the video, the strafing skill bug has been fixed. But there were also other skills that can be used repeatedly to activate the bug, one of which being Swift Healing with a wand. And I do believe one staff skill was also not fixed, but I couldn't replicate it myself despite people telling me it wasn't fixed. So basically the way it works is still the same. At the same time, when you use Swift Healing, you want to dodge roll and this will reset the cooldown and give you 5 uses instead of 3. When you think about it, it's more game breaking and broken on healing than it was on strafing. But I guess since I only mentioned strafing in my video, AGS didn't bother fixing all the other skills. Basically any skill that has a repeatable usage can be abused with this bug. Let me know if you can replicate it with any other weapons. Did you think that Spear wouldn't have any bugs? Well, I found one, for now, that can also be replicated on other melee weapons. When using Rising Slash skill, it lets you dash to the target from range and deal damage, serving as a nice gap closer in PvP and also dealing significant damage in PvE with the Exploding Stack skill specialization. But if you dodge roll as soon as you cast the skill, it cancels the dash but still deals full damage, and it can be used twice. Essentially, this makes the skill ranged, which in PvP can now be used both as a poking range skill or a gap closer. It's especially broken in PvP as Spear is all about applying ignite stacks. With Javelin Inferno you can apply stacks to multiple enemies from range, and with AoE Explosion skill specialization on Rising Slash, you can with this bug from range explode the ignite stacks on multiple targets. But it gets even better. If you pair it up with Longbow and add gear that increases the range with Heroic Spear, you can reach around 29 meter range, essentially making Rising Slash a 30 meter range skill. The problem is that higher the range the more buggy and weird it behaves. It basically deals damage from range, is also a gap closer, but it instantly teleports you back to the starting position. And this teleporting movement is exactly how the enemy will see you. But it gets better. This dodge or cancelling mid-dash can also be applied on similar melee skills that have range jumping or dashing capabilities, most notable being Devastating Smash on Greatsword. It's an AoE stun that you can use from range. When you dodge or cancel, the stun and damage get applied, but you don't jump on the target. Normally you would want to jump on the target and be close range, but I'm sure it could have some cool uses with the long range melee AoE stuns. Another bug is something that's been around for quite a long time, and it's something you probably saw clips of already. Basically, when you are defense blocking the Ice Spear bombardment or any similar skill that acts as a machine gun, you gain an insane amount of movement speed that turns you into a literal speed demon. Of course, the usage and ability to replicate this is very hard in PvP, but it did happen to me randomly few times when I would end up in a big group of enemies spamming the block, and all of a sudden I hit the timing to block the Ice Spear bombardment and I literally disappeared from the range instantly. Lastly, there is also a bug that lets you stack multiple Karnix Eye passives as indicated on this image. I wasn't able to find a way to replicate it, and having multiple people in the party with the Karnix bow doesn't stack the passive range buff. So if you know how to replicate it, let me know in the comments. Also, I want to mention that Brutal Incision is still bugged, in a sense that if you attack the target with poison, you don't see the damage numbers. But don't worry, they are still there, as you can see it on the target dummy. I dealt the damage, it just didn't appear. Overall, do not abuse these bugs, and if you do, use them at your own risk. The video is just for informational purposes and to force Amazon to work on the fixes faster, as we are all very well aware that every patch they manage to break something major and new game-breaking bugs and exploits appear everywhere. If you have any other game-breaking or minor bugs or exploits, feel free to join my Discord and post them there. Thank you for watching, consider subscribing and watch some of my other videos appearing on your screen.